What's going on, everybody? RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com. Hope all is well wherever you are. Hope you're happy, safe, healthy, and of course, I would like to wish you and yours a very happy Victory Polo Monday. I know that the calendar says Tuesday, the top of your phone says Tuesday, but it is a Victory Polo Monday, parentheses like Taylor Swift, Tuesday edition. The Dallas Cowboys were victorious on Monday Night Football. We wear polos, or we metaphorically wear polos. If you don't want to do it literally, the day after the Dallas Cowboys win football games, that's exactly what we're doing here today on the Blog on the Boys YouTube channel, where I talk about the Dallas Cowboys 24/7, 365, basically. And obviously, I do so across all levels of social media. You can hang out with me on X, Instagram, Threads at RJ Ochoa, TikTok, RJ.Ochoa. Email is rj.ochoa@sbnation.com. You can go like my Facebook page, follow me on LinkedIn, whatever you want. You can always, because you're right here on YouTube, leave a comment down below, and I'll do my very best to get to those as well. It is indeed Tuesday, November the 18th, 2025. We need to put the Raiders game in its proper place and celebrate, have a good time, obviously, because the Cowboys won and we were in sore need of some positivity with regards to the football team and their football performance. But then it's a quick turnaround because the Cowboys obviously now on a short week and getting ready to play host to, I should say, the Philadelphia Eagles before an even quicker week when they play host to the Kansas City Chiefs next Thursday on Thanksgiving Day. So let's go ahead and jump into it. And I want to start with a tweet of mine that generated some thought. I thought this was just kind of casual. I threw this out there, and I didn't expect there to be as much interaction as there was, but that's the beauty of the internet. So first of all, mandatory shout out to my friend Kay Adams and to her wonderful show, her wonderful staff over at Up and Adams. They shared this. I saw it during Tuesday's episode. You should be watching Up and Adams every single day. Kay's the best, and their show is wonderful. But they threw this up there, obviously talking about the Cowboys win on Monday Night Football and talking about the NFC playoff picture. So what you're looking at is the NFC playoff picture through Week 11. The division leaders, as they stand, the Eagles are currently the 1 seed with an 8-2 mark. Rams 8-1, 8-2. Rams 8-2 as well. Bears right behind them, 7-3. Next Friday, Black Friday, the Bears and Eagles will play, so that will be very fun with regards to NFC playoff positioning. The Bucs still leading strong, although that is a little bit under duress in the NFC South with that 6-4 mark. Look, I want, as much as anybody, to believe the Cowboys can win the NFC East. We have to reckon with the reality that that is not going to happen. That if, and that is a big capital letter if, the Cowboys are going to be a playoff team, it is going to be by way of one of the wild card spots in the NFC. And through Week 11, those three wild card spots currently belong to the Seahawks, the Packers, who the Cowboys obviously tied with, and the 49ers. We're looking at that lowest mark, 7-4. That is the bar to clear. And the Cowboys down at the bottom of the in the hunt graphic, but they are on the graphic nonetheless. Shout out, of course, to Kay Adams and Up and Adams for including them here. Still trailing the Carolina Panthers, who they lost to. Still trailing the Detroit Lions, who they will play 7 days after Thanksgiving. Crazier things have certainly happened. It is possible. It is not inconceivable. There have been, more impossible or dire circumstances overcome by teams in NFL history. That doesn't mean the Cowboys are going to do it this year, but nevertheless, as we approach Thanksgiving week, the Dallas Cowboys are technically, literally, in the hunt and have a chance to be in the conversation at the very least with regards to teams and their potential paths to, and dare I even say through, the playoffs, but one step at a time. So the Cowboys, again, I would not count on them being a playoff team, but the reality, and we've been talking about this for a little while now, is they're going to have to reach somewhere like 9 wins. And that might not even be enough. As you can see, the Cowboys are going to have to ask the Niners to almost lose out, right? I mean, they're going to have to ask the Lions to lose several more games beyond the one that we're assuming the Cowboys would beat them in. We're going to have to ask the Panthers to lose some more games. I think the most realistic situation, if you're looking for a path, if you are trying to reach, if you want to believe, and I don't fault you for that whatsoever, but if, and look, let's be very honest with ourselves, we are reaching here. If we are reaching for a path for the Cowboys in the playoffs, as far as the teams who currently hold wild card spots, the most likely path or the most likely team to fall is probably the Green Bay Packers. They still have a number of division games left. In fact, of their remaining schedule, the only two games that are not within their own division, obviously the NFC North, are against the current 1 seed in the AFC and the Denver Broncos and the Baltimore Ravens, who obviously look a lot different than they did for the early parts of this season. So it's not impossible. More difficult, more improbable things have certainly happened, and it may not even be the Packers in this hypothetical, improbable, crazy situation that leads to the Cowboys being a playoff team, but the Cowboys have a lot of work to do themselves in terms of getting to 9 wins minimum, and that might not even be enough. And then they would still, in all likelihood, have to get a lot of help around them. But they have a pulse, and when you have a pulse around Thanksgiving time in the NFL, that makes everybody's hearts flutter just a little bit. So just so you know, that's kind of where things stand from a playoff standpoint for the Cowboys. But I do want to look at a few things as a result of Monday night's win against the Las Vegas Raiders. So let's give a shout out to Pro Football Reference and StatHead. I talk about this all the time. I write this article every week at bloggingtheboys.com. It's called Historical Notes. I look through the deep annals of NFL history, of Dallas Cowboys history, to kind of see what the Cowboys are doing and how it fares or compares or relates to different marks, again, in franchise or league history at large. So let's go ahead and do this. Now, this isn't really super duper historical, but I find this to be interesting. The Cowboys did win on Monday night, and that was a game on Monday Night Football. The Cowboys entered this game on Monday that they did win against the Raiders with a 3-game losing streak on Monday Night Football. And that dates obviously back to the middle of the 2024 season. And that doesn't feel like that long ago, because it wasn't. In fact, it was not even a year ago in terms of when the Cowboys played the game. It's a year ago relative to when I'm putting this video together. Today is November 18th for me. It's possible you're watching this after the fact, but the Cowboys lost on November 18th to the Houston Texans. And then later in the 2024 season, during the Simpsons game, when they lost the Cincinnati Bengals, when things went down to the very end, and obviously lost the game before they beat the Raiders to the Arizona Cardinals on Monday Night Football. The Cowboys had not lost 3 straight games on Monday Night Football since 2012 through 2014. So it had been a while since the Cowboys had been that moribund in that particular time slot. So a little bit interesting, but I understand if you're like, dude, that's not that cool. My feelings would be hurt, but whatever. Anyway, let's get to a couple more things. So what you're looking at right here, there are 15 players since 1970 who have had 900 receiving yards through the first 10 games of a stint with a respective franchise. I'm going to repeat this for you because I know it's a complicated thing to kind of unfold. Since 1970, there are 15 players who had at least 900 receiving yards through the first 10 games that they played with the franchise. Those first 10 games could have been as a rookie, or in the case of George Pickens, they could have been in a new stint with the team. George Pickens has obviously played in the NFL before, but these last 10 games were his first 10 ever played with the Dallas Cowboys. So again, since 1970, 15 players of this particular variety have had at least 900 receiving yards through those specific type of first 10 games. George Pickens is the latest one. He has had a wonderful, incredible start to his Dallas Cowboys career, a career that we hope is very long and very wonderful, and more importantly, very long. We hope that George Pickens is around the Dallas Cowboys for the foreseeable future. The names on this list are pretty incredible, and you'll obviously see some rookies because some of the players on this list did it in their first 10 games with a franchise that just happened to be their rookie season. But Devontae Adams with the Raiders, who the Cowboys just beat, obviously. Tyreek Hill with the Dolphins. Stephon Diggs with the Bills. DeAndre Hopkins when he got to the Cardinals. These are players who obviously joined different teams later in their careers, but Odell Beckham Jr. early in his career, obviously with the New York Giants. We can go on and on and on and on, but the point here is that George Pickens is doing something that is very, very, very special. We have advocated for this many different times at this point, and I am not trying to just relitigate something that we all know is a thing over and over and over again. I am just trying to underscore, circle, draw lines around, highlight little stars, the crazy, weird, gothic looking S that we did in middle school. I am trying to draw as much attention to this as possible so that we all get on the same page, which is that the Dallas Cowboys absolutely 100% unequivocally must get a contract extension done with George Pickens in the earliest possible time that they can, whether that's today or tomorrow, whatever. I think we would all love that if it's at the beginning of the offseason, whatever, but they cannot let this drag on. He has been such incredible find and discovery, and they deserve full and total credit for executing that trade. So now earn some more credit, get the extension done, and we will celebrate you all the more. So shout out to George Pickens. He has been amazing. And again, I mean, you're talking 900 receiving yards for the first 10 games that he has had with the team. That kind of stuff is just utterly ridiculous. But Monday night against the Raiders marked George Pickens' third game this season with at least 130 receiving yards and a receiving touchdown. I will say right now that I recognize that these are arbitrary numbers or data points to toss out. We're talking about 130 yards or more and a receiving touchdown in a given game. Those sound clean, but they are arbitrary. That being said, George Pickens has had through the first 10 games of this season 3 games of such kind for the Cowboys. The record throughout all of Dallas Cowboys franchise history for most games of such kind in a season, and those kind are 130 receiving yards and a touchdown. You have to have both of those things in a game for it to count here. The record is 4. Miles Austin did it in that magical 2009 season. I can't believe that was 16 years ago at this point in time. CeeDee Lamb did it in 2023. This isn't in any way any kind of shade or anything, but he only did it 3 times in 2023, which again speaks to the arbitrary nature of the numbers, because he had all sorts of other amazing things that he did. He just may not have had, or obviously did not have, 130 yards and a receiving touchdown. That being said, it's very possible, some would argue it's even likely, that George Pickens ties Miles Austin, surpasses Miles Austin. He has been amazing, and we can come up with a number of different legitimate, arbitrary, whatever you want to call it, data points to prove that, which is why he has to be a Dallas Cowboy for now and the foreseeable future. Shout out George Pickens, if that is not obvious once more. Let's keep going here. And again, I love doing this. It's so much fun. This one is going to upset some folks, because there are still people who are upset about the transition of power from Tony Romo to Dak Prescott. But nevertheless, Monday night marked the 9th game of Dak Prescott's career in which he threw for at least 4 touchdowns and no interceptions. Very productive, and more importantly, a very clean game for Dak Prescott. He has far and away the most games of such kind in Dallas Cowboys franchise history. You can see the player with the second most games of such kind, which again, 4 passing touchdowns and no interceptions, Tony Romo. These are arbitrary things to pull out to say 4 passing touchdowns and no interceptions, but it does speak to how productive and, again, how clean of a game that ultimately is. You're talking about Dak has 9 games of such kind throughout his career just to this point in time, and his career is still ongoing. You're talking about between the rest of Dallas Cowboys franchise history, there are only 11 other games of such kind. 5 belong to Tony Romo, 3 belong to Dandy Don, and then Craig Morton, Danny White, Forks Up, and Troy Aikman each had a singular game of such kind. If Dak Prescott does this 2 more times at least throughout the course of the rest of his career, he'll have matched all Dallas Cowboys passers just by himself. If he does it, obviously, 3 more times, he'll have done it more times individually than anybody else ever has in Dallas Cowboys franchise history combined. A lot of this speaks to the era, the time that Dak Prescott played in, but it also speaks to how great and efficient, and again, how clean of a quarterback and passer he is, because we're talking about games with 4 passing touchdowns and 0 interceptions. It's wonderful. It's amazing. We all love it. At least I think we all love it. And if you don't, well, you need to let go of things from the past, my friend. Let's keep going here. It feels like it's been a minute since we gave Javonte Williams some love. Javonte Williams, through the first 10 games of the season for the Dallas Cowboys, is now north of 800 yards. He eclipsed 800 during Monday night's win against the Las Vegas Raiders. As you can see, he has 809 exactly at this moment in time. He is the first Dallas Cowboys player to amass at least 800 rushing yards through the first 10 games of a given season since Zeke Elliott did it in 2019. You can see Zeke obviously had an incredibly special start to his career. He did it in 2016, his rookie year, 17, 18, and 19. The first 4 years of his career, again, Zeke was very, very special. But it had been a long time since the Cowboys got this kind of production. I'll be the first to admit this is also a little bit arbitrary, right? We're saying 800 yards or more through the first 10 games of a season. We're just using these numbers to show, represent, exemplify how productive Javonte Williams has been. He has been very, very, very productive, and that has served as a rising tide that has really lifted all boats for the Dallas Cowboys offense. So it is awesome. It is refreshing to see the Cowboys have this kind of production. You can see that Emmitt Smith did this a lot throughout the course of his career. Julius Jones had it once upon a time in 2006, and that crazy, amazing season in 2014 when DeMarco Murray did it. We'll see how the season ultimately ends for Javonte Williams. He's very clearly going to hit 1,000 yards rushing on the season, but he has been remarkable through the first 10 games of this year. There's zero doubt about that. As we look onward, this is one that I'm very excited about and very interested to monitor over the course of the rest of the season. So on Monday Night Football against the Las Vegas Raiders, Dallas Cowboys tight end Jake Ferguson caught a touchdown. This was Ferguson's 7th touchdown of the season. He is 2 touchdowns away. There are 7 games left on the season for the Cowboys, by the way. Shout out Monica Geller. He is 2 touchdowns away from tying the record for most receiving touchdowns in a season by a Dallas Cowboys tight end specifically. I know you can't totally see it because I'm covering it up, but Billy Joe Dupree had 9 in 1978, which was an amazing season for the Cowboys. They did ultimately lose Super Bowl 13. Jason Witten matched that effort in 2010. He also had 9 receiving touchdowns. Jake Ferguson, with 2 more touchdowns, will tie Billy Joe Dupree and Jason Witten for the most receiving touchdowns in a singular season in Dallas Cowboys franchise history. But again, he does have 7 games left. If he's able to get 3 more, get to double digits, he will have had, from a receiving touchdown standpoint, the greatest individual season that any Dallas Cowboys tight end has ever had. From a statistical standpoint, we can certainly argue that in a number of different ways, but something fun and interesting to monitor as it relates to Jake Ferguson over the remaining 7 games of the season for the Dallas Cowboys. And if I had to bet, I would say that I think that Jake Ferguson is probably going to get there. Dak Prescott's done an amazing job of kind of spreading the wealth, but you never know. We'll see. It was a really just fun game, and I think that that's kind of obvious. I think we all have a collective kind of pep in our step following Monday night's win against the Raiders. And I said in our post-game show that it makes this time of year so much more fun. And you want this time of year because it's the holidays and, the lights are on and everything. It's chef's kiss. So let's go ahead and let's do what we always do for these shows, which is our Classic Cowboy moment of the week. Shout out to my very good friends at Classic Cowboy. I love these hats. I have a million of them. I have different colors to match all sorts of different outfits, and you can see lots of players on the Cowboys, including Dak Prescott, wear them. And so it is an amazing brand that you should support, and you should, Christmas is coming around the corner. So, a lot of people need hats in their lives. So get some Classic Cowboy hats. But my Classic Cowboy moment of the week for the Dallas Cowboys was, of course, George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb having amazing performances following the coach's decision. I know that we all have thoughts or had thoughts about the coach's decision and what Brian Schottenheimer did, but I mean, how classic, like how actually 90s Cowboys to be benched. Obviously, there were lots of comparisons drawn to when Jimmy Johnson did this with Michael Irvin, which is literally classic. How classic to bench them for the first possession of the game, deliver the message, get the point across, and then say, all right, you're too good. Get in the game, and then for them to go off. It was amazing theater in that respect. It was classic theater. So it was my Classic Cowboy moment of the week for the Dallas Cowboys win against the Las Vegas Raiders on Monday Night Football. Shout out CeeDee Lamb. Shout out George Pickens. Shout out Brian Schottenheimer for making it happen. But most importantly, shout out to Classic Cowboy, who you should support, certainly with the holidays coming up. That about does it for this edition of RJ Talking Dallas Cowboys with his friends on the internet, which is you. I had a wonderful time, and I hope that you did as well. Remember, next time flash photography is permitted. You can get your hands, feet, whatever you want outside of the vehicle during the ride. However you want to rock is totally up to you, my friends. I make no judgments here. So busy week coming up. Have an interview for you that we'll be recording. I'll be recording on Wednesday. That will drop on Thursday, but because on Wednesday have a live episode of the NFC East mixtape that I'll be doing with Brandon Lee Gatton. So that should air at noon Central on Wednesday. And then we'll have the interview on Thursday. We'll have the Madden simulation coming out. You know how it is. Very busy time of year. The short weeks back to back. It's a lot of fun, especially when the Cowboys are winning. So let's hope that they continue that form. My name is RJ Ochoa. You can hang out with me on any level of social media. The links to all of my profiles are down in the description below. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I'm going to go get some more coffee because I got to keep myself powered through. We got Dancing with the Stars tonight. So I got to catch up on Pluribus. There's all sorts of entertainment things going on besides the Cowboys finally making us feel some happiness. So it's a good time of year, and I hope that you're enjoying it with those who mean a lot to you. But thank you so much, everybody, for hanging out, and we will see you next time.